How's everyone doing? I'm Dusty. This is Chris. Welcome to Bengals Army. We don't have
So,
Tony with us today, and I'm sure Tony will tell you why here later. He's got some exciting stuff going on. But how you doing, Chris?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Today's just it's been crazy running around everywhere from the time I got up this morning, about 5 o'clock to till now. So we're coming at you and ready to get this thing, kick back and relax and talk some Bengals, man. What about you? What's been going on for you?
Dude, just grinding, man. It was kind of nice having a couple weeks off though. I'm not gonna lie. And I really probably for about 2 weeks haven't been on Twitter hardly at all, like tagging in every now and then to see what's going on at like the OTAs and rookie minicamp. But really limiting my time the past couple weeks. Just I think it's a good thing to do every now and then. So I'm feeling good, feeling fresh and ready to go now. You want to show the people that nice haircut you got? Show them that party you got going on. Look, y'all thought he was just business casual right there in the front. Nope. Look at them flows. Oh my goodness.
Gotta get it going.
I love it.
Tyler Mullet or the old Tyler Eifert. If your mullet could talk, what would it say? Throw me a Miller Lite.
Great quote. Talking about T. Eifert, what about our tight end room, man? Are we liking how things are looking? I don't know if we've really touched base on those guys too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see how it all shakes out. For me, there's too many guys and not enough roster spots. So if McLaughlin or all have to end up starting the year on the practice squad, does another team scoop them up? And if that's the case, then that's a wasted draft pick, in my opinion. Maybe Tanner Hudson is able to go up and down a little bit. Maybe Eric All starts the season on the PUP list. There's a lot of things that could happen. The one thing we know is Drew Sample is on the team. Drew Sample will make the roster. Drew Sample will be our blocking tight end. And that's fine in my opinion. I mean, they got him for cheap. Pretty much paid most of his money up front, I'm pretty sure, to make some more money available in those next couple years in case there are any other moves we need to make. So, but yeah, with those guys and then Gesicki, I do think that the room is deep. Not really super high ceiling, not really super low floor, but it could very well end up being boom or bust kind of deal,
Yeah, I mean, I like his upside. I like what he could bring. I think the discussion goes like where he's going to be at is are they going to start him on, because injury reserve is a little different than PUP. Injury reserve is, I believe, 3 weeks. The PUP is around 6 weeks, so that could open up a roster spot. So we always had the roster gymnastics. Obviously, Gesicki and Sample, their roster spots are pretty safe. I don't know what they're going to list Sample as. Are they going to list Sample as a halfback? Are they going to list him as a tight end? Like, what's he going to be listed as? Is it going to matter? Like, the numbers are kind of all the same. You can only have so many people on the roster, so
yeah.
Does it really exactly matter? I don't know, but
I think one of the key things is going to be, even if Ole starts the season on the PUP list or on the IR, I'm pretty sure he has to be on the 53 before he can be moved to one of those spots. So he'll need to be on the 53-man roster and then moved there. So there will be some, if that is what happens, and there will be some moves coming there as well with like who doesn't get onto the 53, whether it's just for a day or whatever, to open up that spot for all to make the roster so that he can be placed on IR, on PUP list, to open up that original roster space to begin with. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with that room and how that all shakes out. Because there are like you said, Eric All, he could end up being a stud. It's not often that tight ends come back from ACL injuries and are super explosive or whatever. But everything we've heard about this guy is that when he's healthy, he's that dude out there. Like, he's got the talent, he's got the ability. So hopefully, he's able to put together a healthy career. Hopefully, with an NFL, rehab schedule and an NFL training schedule once he's healthy, that he'll be able to get his body into a shape. And let's face it, that sometimes injuries just come down to luck. So hopefully he gets lucky, and is able to stay mostly injury free in his career. And if he turns up to be a stud, then we got to steal in the 4th round. If he doesn't turn out to be much, he was a 4th round pick. So at the end of the day, I think it's a good swing to take. And with the 1-year deal for Gesicki, and we got Sample locked up for a couple years. I think Hudson's on a 1-year deal. McLaughlin, if he comes in and is basically like a guy that can replace Gesicki next year, then what does that look like? So there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of different ways this year and beyond that the tight end room can shake out. So it'll be interesting to watch. That's for sure. The preseason will tell us a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think with All, man, he's got a lot of potential. So hopefully he is healthy. Hopefully he can come in and really show us what the kid can do. I would hate to say, like, in the 4th round, there's a lot of players, there's a lot of talent that you can get, especially this year's draft. There was a lot of guys that I really liked on the interior offensive line that was still there, that I really think would have bolstered this offensive line. So us taking this guy, it's kind of like, yeah, he's got to make the roster. Like, we can't not let this 4th round pick with the talent that was available just slip away. And then Tanner McLaughlin, I always forget what his name, McLaughlin, right? Tanner McLaughlin. But yeah, that kid, he beat all of Gronk's records. Not saying he's Gronk, but obviously he's got some potential. So the tight end room, I think it's nice to have options in there now. With Joe Burrow, it makes things very interesting. They get to learn from Gesicki, which Gesicki's I think he's really going to contribute well, and that kind of takes us into wide receiver. Is he going to be the number 3 option, or we're going to have Jamar T and Mike Gesicki? I think that's a really good possibility. And then Burton could be, that kind of secret weapon. We all know what Gesicki, what he could look like when he played down Miami and stuff. We know not Tyler Boyd, T Higgins and Jamar Chase, who they are. But I think this kind of opens things up. Obviously, Sample was going to be on the team. He's kind of underrated in my opinion. When Sample was given the opportunities and stuff, he will do he'll do his job. Like, you don't have to be a Pro Bowl guy. You need a team of a bunch of average dudes that do their job, know their position, and they do it well. And that's kind of what Sample does. I think there's a lot of opportunity if they use him correctly, possibly put him in the backfield. Like Samaje Perine, he was in the backfield as a blocker. Maybe we can put Sample back there, and that could really open things up for us. Like let him block for a little bit, and then get out of the backfield and maybe catch a couple little passes and get us 5 yards.
Yeah,
have a little out.
I think Sample takes so much crap because when he was drafted, everybody was like, "Oh, what a horrible pick!"
Who?
Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, people were right about him. But I think it swung so far to the one side that okay, so he didn't turn out to be 2nd round pick material. but he's been solid.
Mhm.
Like, we know what he is now. And once you know, like,
Yeah.
don't keep your expectations at second round pick Drew Sample. Set your expectations to blocking tight end Drew Sample, who's going to do his job. He's going to do a pretty solid job blocking, and every once in a while he can get out into a route and, you know, make a catch and get you 5, 6, 8, 10 yards. Like, as long as the expectations are properly set, I think Drew Sample, like, people can appreciate Drew Sample in a way that they haven't had a chance to before. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what his contract was for, because I think it was like 3 years, 2.5 million a year, something like that. I'm gonna look it up, but if that's the case, you're getting what you pay for. So Drew Sample
Right.
can.
Well, he's been on multiple contracts. So when you draft a guy, that's really good to be able to retain him. Now they're cheap
Yep.
contracts, so there's a little give and take there. But he's a dude that stuck around. He's done his job. Would we look at this guy a lot different if we took him in the fourth round? Yeah, we'd think, oh wow, we retained this tight end. He does his job well. It's not his fault where we drafted him at. Still don't love the spot and where we drafted him, but you could have got a guy like Jackson Carman. Jackson Carman, everyone's trying to push him off the roster. Nobody really wants the kid around town. So I would prefer a better prospect in the second, but he's definitely better than there's other players that have dropped off. There's first round guys that have not made rosters. You have John Ross, who where's he at? I think the Giants might have signed him, or the Eagles. I think the Eagles ended up signing him.
Somebody just
But
signed
it's just like, yeah, but you got a guy that hasn't done anything other than what was it, the Seattle game where he had 2 or 3 touchdowns. He had 100 and some yards. Like, I think that was his second year, and I think a lot of people were probably like, "Man, okay, here's John Ross. Let's see what happens." But he wasn't really a Marvin guy, and things got a little weird with with the kid. So, wide receiver room. Do you think Gesicki's going to be more of the wide receiver 3, or do you think Burton's going to be more of that wide receiver 3? Because I think it's going to be a solid rotation, something that we haven't really seen. I think Gesicki's really going to play some good ball. I think he's going to earn himself a really good contract.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have whatever opportunity that he makes of it, because when it comes down to it, he's going to fill a void that the Bengals haven't had. Like, he's not going to be a Tyler Boyd replacement. He's not going to be like an only number 3 receiver. He's not going to be an only slot receiver. Like, he's going to be a receiving tight end that is able to create mismatches. And I think part of that is, like, Tyler Boyd had a down year last year. It is what it is. But the guys that we're going to have this year, like Charlie Jones and Jermaine Burton and Andre Yosavash, those guys are all going to get opportunities inside. And the combination of Gesicki and whoever that other guy is. So we got 3 wide receivers and then Gesicki and a running back. So the combination of Gesicki at tight end and whoever the number 3 wide receiver is in any certain scenario is really going to create mismatches for the defense, because we're going to have a ton of receiving threats. So when we do end up going, to the 4 wide from shotgun or a 5 wide from shotgun type look, it's just going to be really hard for a defense to be able to match up with all those guys. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to double everybody. You're not going to be able to double both Jamar and T. And then, so what are you going to do? You're going to leave a 5'9" slot receiver or a 5'9" slot corner on Gesicki to let him run across the field and basically box him out and get the 6-yard possession catch that we need for a first down to keep the drive going? Or you're going to put a linebacker on him and he's going to float over the top for some kind of deep out because the linebacker can't stick with him. Like we're going to have plenty of options. And I think that as long as Gesicki is there mentally, then Joe Burrow is going to love him. I mean, we saw last year, like, I think the difference between Tanner Hudson and Mitch Wilcox was not like as big as it seemed. But what I do think is that Tanner Hudson was in the right spot more often than Mitch Wilcox was. And we ended up seeing that more and more as the year went on, that Joe Burrow rewarded Hudson for that and kind of like punished Wilcox for it. Because Wilcox, there were times towards the end of the year that he was like open and Burrow didn't throw him the ball. And then there were times during the end of the year that Hudson was like in pretty tight coverage, but Burrow trusted him to do what was expected, to be where he needed him to be. And he kind of put the ball in a spot where he trusted only Hudson to get it. So he gave him some extra chances because of that. So I think as long as Gesicki has got his head screwed on straight, he's doing everything he can to be in the playbook, and he's feeling that like chemistry type deal where him and Burrow are kind of on the same page all the time, then he'll be solid and he could really have a huge year and, like you said, earn himself that next big contract.
Yeah, Ross says Superdome, eyes on the prize, Houday. Yeah, I appreciate the comments, guys. I think that would be it would be something, wouldn't it? You know, Jamar and Joe going back down to Louisiana, getting or not Louisiana, the Nolo. So going down to New Orleans and winning a Super Bowl. That would just make so much sense for us. You're muted.
That is Louisiana. New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wait, yeah, okay. Dude, I'm tired. I've been in
Listen,
outside. I was working in
baby. We stick to the Midwest.
I was working in the rain, man. I don't know where I was thinking. You got Mississippi, you got all these places down there. I'm not a Southern kid. What it is, what it is. But yeah, I'm probably all dirty too, man. I was out there in these flower beds, and our ground's so dry, dude, that I don't know how much that compost, like potting stuff that I put in the ground. I ended up having to dig holes for little flowers about a foot down and used a little one of them big spike things you shove in the ground, a spud bar. So I'm sitting there cracking the ground open with a spud bar to get to hopefully get some flowers to work right for me. So yeah. I don't know.
Hey, there are a few tools in this world that make you feel manlier than hammering a spud bar into the ground, though. I mean,
dude, yesterday. I'll tell you another.
That's like caveman type stuff, you know. Just hey, I need to break up this earth. All right, here's this giant metal pole. Just slam it down as hard as you can a couple times.
Yeah. I used. I had to put some fence posts in, and I just did like some metal, the little metal T-posts. And so I was slamming some other stuff. I was having that post driver out there going to town the other day. I put in about, what was it, around 10-ish posts, and I was just going to town, having myself some fun, but I wore myself out, man. I've been running too, trying to get this dad bod in shape for summer so my wife don't leave me. I mean, but yeah, that was a joke, Chris. I don't think my wife's going to leave me, man. You got all serious with the people.
Well, you know, hey, sometimes you got to keep them abs going, whether they're under.
Hey, we don't have hair like. When you don't have flow like you you got to at least keep the body in check a little bit. You can't let it get too far out of control. Did you see this? This is a good transition, man. Did you see Zach Moss? Did you see that picture of him they had he had a little, I don't know, small interview in the locker room, and this dude has traps galore. His traps, like, it's like from his ear to his shoulder. I was like, Jeezy Beats, dude. I was like, this guy is literally a wrecking ball. I think Zach Moss is going to really show up and show out this year. I got some high expectations for him just because the opportunity last year, the way he played in with this team, I think he has a really good opportunity. But when I seen the type of shape and conditioning this dude looks like he's in, I'm pretty excited for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the offense, like year to year, we've been able to kind of see, oh yeah, this is the direction that things are going to be going, and this is kind of the roles that we see people fitting into. But this year, like, it's almost completely new. Obviously, Jamar and T are going to be the two top receivers, the two top dogs out there. Sample's going to be a blocking tight end. And outside of that, it's wide open. Like, I mean, you're going to have, how much of Chase Brown do we see? How much of Zach Moss do we see? How much does Gesicki play in line? How much does Gesicki play slot? How much does Gesicki get split outside, in the 4 wide sets when there's a trips to the opposite side? Who's going to be the red zone weapon of choice? Like, how are guys going to be used? What is Charlie Jones going to be doing? And Andre Yosevach on offense? And where does Trenton Irwin get? Like, there's so many ways that this thing could go. It's like this is kind of, and even with Dan Pitcher, as offensive coordinator, there's going to be so many kind of wrinkles that I think we're going to be unknown for the first few weeks until we fall into a rhythm, and then we kind of get used to whatever this like new type of normal is. So it'll be very, very exciting, and I can't wait to see it.
Ross says, let's make Mon ruler of the jungle. Ross, that would be something. That would be something. Hopefully Mon would give his boys a call up and tell us to come hang out with him and whatnot. But
hey, I bet Mon gives a heck of a pump up speech.
I bet he does. I bet Mon would get the crowd fired up. So Mon, if you're in here, man, next time you come on the show, we're gonna have to hear if you was the ruler of the jungle, how you present it. What would the vibe be? Would you have like a like kind of like how fighters do in the UFC? Like, what would your walkout music be? Because that's how I would do it. I'd have like a walkout theme. I'd have have you seen the Morgan Wallen, how he like comes out onto the stage and stuff? I'd have a whole it'd be a whole thing. That'd be a lot of fun. Speaking of Dan Pitcher, man, do you think Zach's going to loosen the reins a little bit and let him make more play calls? I was on Rule the Jungle Pod with the Anthony, Will, and Tyler last night, and we kind of talked about that. I thought it was interesting. In my opinion, I think Zach's going to continue being the play caller. There might be some wrinkles. He's going to get some thoughts in there, and it'll develop as the season goes along. I don't believe right off the rip he's going to just. I'm turning everything over to Dan. He's going to do the play calls. I think it'll still be a committee, especially if he didn't trust Brian Callahan to be a play caller right off. Like how much was that? Brian and Zach working together. I think it would be very similar, and I think Zach's going to definitely control the play calls off at least the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it in that last little portion there. You said that, if he turns the reins over to Dan Pitcher, or he gives him too much control of the offense, then what does that say about Brian Callahan? Like, if he didn't trust them after being with them for 5 years and whatever, like, if he didn't trust him to take a step back, and for Zach to take a step back, and for Brian Callahan to call the plays, then, okay, now you're giving it to the new offensive coordinator. I know he's been with the Bengals. I know he's been the quarterback's coach. I know he's been, with the offense for a few years, but OC is a completely new thing, and there's a lot of different things he's going to need to manage other than just being an offensive assistant or a positional coach or things like that. So it'll be interesting for sure to see how that goes. I'll believe it when I see it if Zach does take a step back. One way that I think that we'll know that has happened is if Zach's still calling the plays, but they're taking shots more often. I'd like to see the risk taking go up a little bit. I know we talked about it a lot last year when there's a 3rd and 6 or a 3rd and 7 and there's no creativity and they're not trying to call, a creative screen pass or a bootleg or a, double move or anything like that. They're always just doing like, oh, let's throw the 3-yard slant and hope that Jamar can get us the extra 3. Let's give the ball to Mixon and, maybe we get within half a yard or like, I just think that we'll see the shot plays more often. That to me would indicate that Zach Taylor has stepped a little back. And for, Dan Pitcher's sake, I think that like maybe Zach regrets not giving Brian a little more control last year. And maybe he kind of saw how it all played out and kind of learned a lesson himself and said, okay, it's time for me to take a step back because I should have done it before and I didn't. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
That's all part of the excitement of this year's offense. So
yeah, I think the team has to be more explosive. That's what helped us out a lot in 2021 was the explosive plays. I think we have the players to do that with Burton. The backfield is definitely more explosive with Chase Brown and Zach Moss than we have the tight end. It's probably the best tight end that's Joe's ever had it, and definitely the deepest tight end room he's had. On top of that, the offensive line is much improved. So I think the offense is going to have some wrinkles to it, and they got to continue to evolve and be a little more creative. And hopefully they run the ball a little better. We got to make more opportunities for our running backs, and that'll open up the pass game. But we've been on for about a half hour. I know Chris and me are both tired. I gotta get me some dinner. I gotta cook it. I gotta cook it tonight. I'm not the best cook in the world, and I gotta get in the kitchen after all this yard work. Any closing thoughts, Chris? I do want to thank Rule the Jungle Pod for having me on yesterday. That was a lot of fun. So if you guys are listening, definitely appreciate it. If everybody in the chat and everyone that's listening to this live right now and going to be listening to it here in the future, we appreciate your support. But go ahead and give those guys a listen. They were on our show back in April, so you can always go back and re-listen to that. It was our mock draft episode where it was Bengals Army versus Rule the Jungle Pod. So that was a really fun one. Any closing thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, you said it. Thanks to Tyler, Will, and Anthony for always welcoming us on. And even though I couldn't make it, it's always nice to be, for different like Bengals podcasts and stuff. At the end of the day, we're all just fans. We all just love talking Bengals. So like, it's cool to be able to kind of meet new people and have new conversations in this kind of way. So that's always great. Only other thing that I want to say is I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, Bengals Army, me, Dusty, Tony, we have all been in the Army. I'm out now, but over 13 years, like it means something to me, and it would be crazy if the Bengals Army podcast, didn't mention Memorial Day. Thank you to all the people who served before us. Thank you to all the people who gave their life for us to live in a country that is the freest country in the world. For all us to be afforded the freedoms that we have. It's always a good fun weekend, but we always got to take that minute to reflect on the past and reflect on the people that came before us to give us the opportunities to do the things that we do. So just wanted to say that, and I'm good.
Yeah, definitely. A, it was I had to work all weekend. I was off Memorial Day at least, but yeah, Memorial Day is definitely it's a special day. I can remember my grandma always she'd always go and plant flowers at the grave sites of our relatives. Pretty much all my grandmas and my grandfather's side of the family, all the brothers. So my great uncles, my great granddad was in World War II. There's a long lineage of service members with us, but it's a good time to reflect. Obviously, my grandma's passed, and me and her were super close, and she did not serve, but it's a good time for all of us to remember our loved ones, and be grateful and thankful for our memories, for our time, the time we get spent with family, and just reflect as a whole. So yeah, Chris, you said it greatly. Thanks everybody for the comments, for joining us. I'm sure we'll have a longer show coming up. We had to push it back a half hour because of me because of me not getting my yard work and stuff done as fast as I was hoping to do. You know, time when you're having a good time doing yard work, it gets out of hand sometimes. But we appreciate it, and thanks, Chris, for being flexible, man. I know that there's a lot more stuff we could have covered, but we'll get to it here soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's the off season. We got plenty of time. We got plenty of time to put, a couple of extra shows out here and there. So we'll get around to it. And it'll be good to have Tony back on as well. I know that he's definitely happy to be missing tonight. He's so
Probably
whenever he's
tired, but happy.
probably tired but happy, but whenever he's back, he'll catch everybody up on that. But yeah, it's just the off season. So what are we gonna do?
Right on. Well, once again, everybody, thanks. We appreciate it. We'll be back here soon. We took our little 2 week break and probably back to about once a week, maybe even twice a week when things get heated up for summer camp, man. But who day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.